Welcome to Point Categories featuring Xi-cleft points, presented by Lamp AccuWellness Foundation Inc. Today we are going to talk about the yin Xi points. A Xi-cleft or accumulation point is the site where the Qi of the meridian is deeply converged. Qi and blood are stored deeply at these particular points. If there appear abnormal reactions at Xi-cleft points, it shows that the pathogens have entered the deeper parts of zang organs. Thus, they are used for acute painful symptoms, inflammation, protracted diseases of its pertaining meridian and zang organ. Also, Xi-cleft points of the yin meridians have hemostatic functions. Lung 6. Location on the radial palmar aspect of the forearm, on the line joining lung 5 and lung 9, 7th zone above the transverse crease of the wrist. Xi-cleft point of the lung meridian. Needling perpendicular insertion 0.5 to 1 zone. This point is mostly used in acute excess patterns of the lungs, especially for an acute attack of asthma. It also stops bleeding, which is a property of all accumulation points. Like all accumulation points or Xi-cleft points, it treats pain and channel problems. For this reason, it is an important point for pain along the lung channel in the elbow and upper arm. Functions of lung 6. As accumulation point, it stops pain and is used in acute conditions. Good for acute asthma, clears lung heat, stops bleeding. When the lung feels it is losing connection with heavenly Qi, either because the lung is failing to descend the Qi or because the clear Qi of the lung is failing to rise and diffuse, it can feel as though the person will fall through the depths of grief forever with nothing to hold on to. Lung 6, known as the greatest hole, can enrich the lung with abundant Qi and blood to strengthen it and re-establish connection. Blood and Qi gather at Xi-cleft accumulation points, making them good points to use when nourishing and strengthening are key issues. The revitalization afforded by these points, which are not command points, even though they are located in command point territory, has given them the reputation of being like a periscope. They help foster a new outlook and appraisal of circumstances. All Xi-cleft points are useful for invigorating or dispersing pain or obstruction along the particular channel on which they are found and are much used in acute conditions. Pericardium 4. Location on the palmar aspect of the forearm, 5 zone above the transverse crease of the wrist, on the line connecting pericardium 3 and pericardium 7. Xi-cleft point of the pericardium meridian. Needling perpendicular insertion 0.5 to 1 zone. Pericardium 4 is an important point of the pericardium channel, and being the Xi-cleft accumulation point, it is used in acute conditions, particularly to stop pain. It has an influence on the chest and stops chest pain. Being the Xi-cleft point, it is the best point to use for painful and especially acute painful conditions of the channel. Functions of pericardium 4. Invigorates blood and eliminates stasis. Therefore, it is very effective for chest pain, heart pain. cools the blood and stops bleeding. So this is particularly useful for coughing of blood, vomiting of blood, and nosebleed. Calms the mind, effective for agitation, anxiety, insomnia, mental restlessness, depression, and fright. Pericardium 4 removes obstructions from the channel and stops pain. Pericardium 4 is a wonderfully steadying point. It can underpin and anchor the person to a calm rhythm. This accumulation or Xi-cleft point in a crevice allows you to access a point of deep influence of Qi reserve on the heart protector meridian. This point opens the chest and calms the heart, and as a gate point is a great point to use to regulate the rhythm of the heart. Because blood and Qi gather at Xi-cleft points, the association of the blood and the heart can be mutually influenced here. If the rhythm of the heart and the blood goes awry, there is a loss of control in the supreme controller and a loss of timing or possibly blockage, cutting off the easy communication of the heart via the heart protector to the other officials or zang, which can provoke immense anxiety. By regulating the heart in this way, equanimity and good communication are regained at this most important level. The pericardium and sea of Qi in the chest are also the heart's protectors. The heart needs to exist in tranquility in order to be the receptacle for the Shen and to radiate the virtue of the heart. Heart 6. Location. On the palmar aspect of the forearm, the point is on the radial side of the tendon of the muscle flexor carpi ulnaris, 0.5 tsun above the transverse crease of the wrist. Xi-cleft point of the heart meridian. Heart 6 is a very good point for steaming bone disorders and night sweating. Needling, perpendicular insertion, 0.3 to 0.5 tsun. Functions of heart 6. Invigorates heart blood, so it's very useful for heart pain, stabbing pain in the chest, fullness of the chest, palpitations. It also subdues rebellious Qi, so it's particularly useful for nosebleed, vomiting of blood. Heart 6 nourishes heart yin and clears empty heat of the heart, so it's good for night sweating, steaming bones. Heart 6 stops sweating and calms the mind. A great point to tonify heart yin, as the name implies. Affecting the yin, it is a very calming point for the heart, which needs rooting in yin essences to provide a suitable place in the heart for the spirits. It can help the return of smooth operation and certainly after turmoil in the body, mind, and spirit. As a Xi-cleft accumulation point where Qi and blood gather and can be easily released, the yin mound can invigorate and move stagnant Qi and facilitates blood flow. Heart 6 is a good point for the mind, nourishing it with blood and Qi and calming it, enabling a new perspective like a periscope point. This clear view of consciousness is an essential aspect of the Supreme Controller, which needs to be nourished to remain strong and withstand any attack on the spirits, which can desert the heart if alarmed by fear, weakness, excessive laughter. A strong heart can communicate without distortion from a place of tranquility, both to the body, mind, spirit, and to others. The agitation which can result from exhaustion or from over-revving the heart through excess partying or taking on too much responsibility is not conducive to the smooth running of the Supreme Controller. This point can be a steadying and peaceful influence. Heart 6 is often used to nourish heart yin when there are symptoms of sweating, night sweats, dry mouth, and insomnia, anxiety. It is frequently combined with kidney 7 to stop night sweats from yin deficiency. The heart governs the blood and is thus said to control sweat, as blood and body fluids mutually interchange. The Xi-cleft point can be used when there is stiffness and pain along the heart meridian due to stagnation of heart blood, stifling sensation or pain in the chest, sudden loss of voice, palpitations. Heart 6 is used in acute, painful, stiff conditions affecting the heart meridian and for oppression and pain in the chest. Spleen 8. Location on the medial aspect of the lower leg, 3 tun below spleen 9, on the line connecting the tip of the medial malleolus and spleen 9. Xi-cleft point of the spleen meridian, needling perpendicular insertion 1 to 2 tun. Like all accumulation points, spleen 8 removes obstructions and stops pain, particularly in acute excess patterns. It is very much used in acute cases of dysmenorrhea to stop pain. It is also used as part of a treatment strategy for chronic dysmenorrhea, when this point would be used just before the period to move qi and invigorate blood, usually with reducing method. And other points would be used, usually with reinforcing method, to treat the root of the condition. Spleen 8 regulates the uterus and stops pain by invigorating blood, that is, removing the stasis of blood. Like all Xi-cleft points, this point can also stop acute bleeding, and it is used to stop excessive menstrual bleeding and bleeding from the bowel. Functions of spleen 8. As accumulation point, it treats acute pain. Frequently used to stop menstrual pain and stops excessive menstrual bleeding. Spleen and stomach together form the central pivot in the human being, the representation of humanity, the place of exchange between the transmissions of heaven and earth. Together, they are responsible for the maintenance and reconstruction of the officials. Sometimes the quality of earth is such that it is hard for the spleen to fulfill its task of transporting and transforming. If earth has been deprived or depleted, if it has been overextended, always giving out and never receiving, whether on a practical level or mentally, nourishment is needed. Without the correct balance, earth gets out of sorts, rigid and unable to adapt to changes. It drags along the same old grooves with a sense of weary oppression. Earth motivator is a wonderful point for the body, mind, and spirit if earth needs to loosen up, get things going, and realign with its higher purpose. If awareness of the possible creative transformations that could happen in life is at a low ebb, this point can be a good place to start irrigating and invigorating the spleen. It is often used early in treatment to cultivate the spleen, both to accept life and process events, whether digestive or emotional, more efficiently. Xi-cleft points are especially invigorating for the meridian to which they belong. They are good for freeing the qi and coursing the meridian, and so are used for removing obstructions from the meridian. Spleen 8 stops pain. This point is used in both acute and chronic dysmenorrhea. Xi-cleft points help regulate qi and blood. Spleen 8 moves stagnant blood and enlivens circulation. Helps cold feet arising from stagnation of blood and qi. Regulates the uterus by enlivening the blood, thus removing stagnation. Liver 6, location on the medial aspect of the lower leg, 7th zone above the tip of the medial malleolus, on the middle of the medial aspect of the tibia. Xi-cleft point of the liver meridian. Needling, subcutaneous insertion, 0.5 to 0.8 zone. Liver 6, like liver 5, also has an affinity with the genital and urinary area, and has a similar action to liver 4 and liver 5. The only difference being that it is the accumulation or Xi-cleft point and is therefore useful in excess patterns and acute cases to stop pain. For example, it is a very useful point for acute urinary pain, such as in cystitis, deriving from damp heat and stagnation of liver qi. Functions of liver 6. Removes obstructions from the channel, so it's very good for lower abdominal pain, hypogastric pain, cold lower leg, pain in the inner aspect of the leg. The name indicates that liver 6 is located in the center of the shin bone, where the point is found in a hollow. It is also a Xi-cleft point where qi and blood accumulate and mingle, as people do in a city. This accumulation of blood and qi makes Xi-cleft points good to use when nourishing and strengthening our key issues. The revitalization afforded by these points, which are not command points even though they are located in command point territory, has given them the reputation of being like a periscope. They help foster a new outlook and appraisal of circumstances. They can reinvigorate a person if their qi is stagnant or stolid, in the same way that all the exchanges and different cultures of a big city can broaden one's horizons. Liver 6 can help stimulate the mind and spirit of wood if it has become hidebound and rigid, and supports the liver official with assessment, strategy, and planning, which are so important to the nature of wood. All Xi-cleft points are useful for invigorating or dispersing pain or obstruction along the particular channel on which they are found, and are much used in acute conditions. It shares many similar actions with liver 4 and liver 5 in its effects on the genital area, although as a Xi-cleft or accumulation point, it is particularly indicated in full conditions, acute situations, and to irrigate the length of the meridian. Machocha, in his book, cites it for acute urinary pain from damp heat and stagnation of liver qi. Kidney 5, located on the medial aspect of the foot, posterior and inferior to the medial malleolus, one zone directly below kidney 3, in the depression of the medial side of the tuberosity of the calcaneum. Kidney 5 is Xi-cleft point of the kidney meridian. Needling, perpendicular insertion, 0.3 to 0.5 zone. Being the accumulation point, kidney 5 can be used in acute conditions to stop pain, and is therefore used in acute cystitis or urethritis. It also stops abdominal pain around the umbilicus, and it regulates blood in the uterus. In particular, kidney 5 is used for amenorrhea from kidney deficiency. Functions of kidney 5. Benefits urination. So it's very good for difficult urination, dribbling of urine. Regulates the uterus and menstruation. So beneficial for scanty periods, amenorrhea, irregular menstruation, painful periods, prolapse of the uterus. A spring represents a place of access and movement. Here, water spring is able to refresh and bring new vigor to the body, mind, and spirit. When water fear has become oppressive or has frozen the person into inactivity, then this point can give a powerful activating impulse. Blood and Qi gather at Xi-cleft accumulation points, making them good points to use when nourishing and strengthening our key issues. The revitalization afforded by these points has given them the reputation of being like a periscope. They help foster a new outlook and appraisal of circumstances. All Xi-cleft points are useful for invigorating or dispersing pain or obstruction along this particular channel on which they are found, and are much used in acute conditions. When water is deficient, without sufficient fluidity to keep clear, it can become defensively aggressive. Attacking before an attack can arise from elsewhere, or else become so passive and fearful that it becomes inert and lacking in vitality. Kidney 5 can help free the meridian and bring animating Qi to course through stagnation and relieve fear from depletion. Kidney 5 tonifies the kidneys and regulates the bladder. As a Xi-cleft point on a yin meridian, it promotes the circulation of blood. It regulates blood in the uterus and stops abdominal pain. This point is used to encourage urination when flow is obstructed by stagnation. Thank you very much for your attention, and see you on our next videos.